Something you need to know about is what is the difference between a living trust and a living will? Now, this is especially important for you because these are two totally different things that do totally different things. You need to know the difference. Don't get confused. In this video, you'll learn what a will is and how it helps with estate planning. You'll learn the difference between a will and other estate plan options. You'll identify the key components of an overall estate plan. I'll show you why people get confused between a living trust and a living will and how you can differentiate them. You'll see why both of these tools are important parts of an overall estate plan. Okay, let's first take a look at what is a will. Well, simply put, a will, sometimes referred to as a last will and testament, is essentially a plan for your estate whenever you die. You see, what I share with people on a regular basis is something that I think people get kind of bogged down in, confused about, and just have a misunderstanding is that when they hear estate planning, for whatever reason, they think it doesn't apply to them. I think part of the reason for that is that when you hear the word estate, it kind of conjures up images of, vast amounts of wealth, or maybe a mansion, or maybe, the estate grounds, acreage, land, all of these things. And people think to themselves, mistakenly, I might add, that I don't have this mansion. I don't have this millions and millions of dollars. I don't have this vast amount of land. So I guess I don't have an estate. I don't need an estate plan. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. Everyone has an estate, and as a result, everyone needs a plan for that estate and how it's going to be distributed upon their death. It's not a matter of if you die, you will die. Now, I know that's not the motivational part of this presentation, but I got to tell you, whenever you pass away, you've worked very hard for what you have built up. You want to make sure that you provide for your family and have that pass on in a way that can take care of them. A will can help you do that. At the same time, it's not necessarily going to be our best option. When it comes to estate planning options, I prefer a trust. Now, the reason that I prefer a trust is, well, there are a number of reasons, but the primary reason that I prefer a trust versus a will is that while a will can help us with our overall estate planning objectives, it's going to be subject to the probate process. And that's something we want to avoid. Now, when we talk about the probate process, basically we're talking about the government's court-supervised overseeing of the transfer of our assets upon our death. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd rather not have court supervision of the transfer of my assets. Well, there's a very simple way to do that, and that is to transfer your assets into the name of the trust. Now, we do that during our lifetime while we are living, hence the name living trust. With a will, there's nothing that has to be transferred into the will. Basically, a will just talks about all of our assets that we may own. Well, that's somewhat easier, but we don't get the same benefit. With a trust, we get the benefit of avoiding the probate process and thereby avoiding the lengthy delays from the time-consuming nature of probate, which studies have shown on average can be 11 to 14 months. Now, obviously, when we say on average, there are some that are going to be shorter than that, and that's great, but there are some that are going to be longer. Which one will you be? Now, some of you watching this right now, you may have had experience with having to go through the probate process. We want you to share that experience. And whenever I'm speaking to a group, I always ask them, who's had this type of experience? And they share that. Well, share it in the comments below. What experience have you had with the probate process? Or maybe you've avoided the probate process because your family had a trust and you want to share that success story. Either way, we want to hear your comments. And while you're at it, why don't you take some time to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can continue to get more information all the time from these videos. Now, let's take a look at our next point here. Okay, so we've taken a look at just the overall concept of having an estate plan, and I mentioned a will is probably the most popular option for an estate plan is no plan at all. Well, that's sad to say, but that's how it is. But then the second most popular option is that will. Well, as I mentioned, the downside of having that will is you have to go through the probate process. So I always prefer having a trust for the estate planning option that I always choose. And that's the one that I share with my clients every single day. But why is it that people get a will and a living trust all mixed up? Well, I think part of it is they hear living trust, then they hear living will. Well, the first word is the same, living. Well, I got to tell you, they may sound the same, but they're not the same. These are two totally different documents that are established and drafted for two totally different purposes. Let's take a look at that. I talked to you a little bit about the living trust. And the reason we call it a living trust is because we draft it while we are living. The transfer of the assets occurs while we are living. While we are able to make these, we don't have to worry about the probate because there's no transfer that occurs upon our death, hence no involvement of the probate court. Well, now let's talk about a living will. Now, if you compare a living will with our last will and testament, both of these have to be drafted while we are living. We get that. So they're very similar from that aspect, but they accomplish two totally different objectives. Now, with our last will and testament, we talked about that. That's our estate plan. A living will is not your estate plan. Now, it's part of an estate plan, but it's not your estate plan. A living will refers to how do you want things handled with regard to your medical affairs. Do you want to be hooked up to a life support system? Do you not? Under what circumstances? Do you have somebody that you are designating as your representative that will help convey your wishes to the medical professionals? Do you want artificial hydration provided, or would you rather have it withheld? Do you want artificial nutrition provided or withheld? Under what circumstances? These are all very important things that need to be documented and memorialized while you are living, because when the time comes that you are in a hospital or in a medical facility that you may be incapacitated and you're not able to make these decisions, you're not able to convey your wishes, this is why you need to have this in advance as part of your overall estate plan. Your living will, your healthcare directives, your HIPAA waiver and release documentation, all of that is part of an overall estate plan that you need to put in place. And the key is you don't know when the time is going to come when you're going to pass away. None of us has a crystal ball that we can see into the future and we know exactly what's going to happen. The only time that we do know for sure is that it's not too late is when you do it right now. That's what I help people with every single day, and that's why we make these videos, is so that you have the information that you need to make these decisions. It's not just for yourself, it's also for your family. Okay, so obviously a living will is a very important document. So when people ask me what's the difference between a living will and a living trust, sometimes it's as if they're asking me, which one do I need? Do I need this or do I need this? I say yes. The reason I say yes is because yes, you do need a living will. Yes, you do need a living trust, because these are both very essentially vital components to an overall comprehensive plan for your estate. This is your estate plan. Think about that. This is the culmination of your entire lifetime of accumulating assets, accomplishing your various goals, your objectives. You've got to take some time to do this. This is not a do-it-yourself plan. This is something that you need to think through, and it's always advisable to work with a qualified professional that can assist you with this. Whoever that may be, do what it takes to make sure that you have a plan in place. Now, one of the things that we do on a regular basis is we work with clients, but we also educate clients. Part of the way that we do that is through various courses that we put together. Now, I got to tell you, I've got a special opportunity for you right now. And you are going to want to take advantage of this because of how special I've made it. I have put together a mini course that I refer to as Enlightened Estate Planning. And I'm making that available as my gift to you, absolutely free of charge. That's right, there's no cost for this, but there is some action that you've got to take. All you got to do is click the link below and you will gain access to the information included in this incredibly valuable Enlightened Estate Planning. It's going to enlighten you on all the estate planning information you need to know to take care of yourself, your family, and how your assets are going to be distributed. There's incredible information in there, and it's absolutely free. Did I mention free? All you have to do, click the link below, gain access to this, and let us help you to learn exactly what you need to know with regard to your estate plan. Thanks so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in our other videos.